Last week, former President Donald Trump announced his running mate for the 2024 election, JD Vance. Now, I've been getting up to speed with JD and I watched his Hillbilly Elegy. Don't miss this great movie, based upon a book that JD wrote about his upbringing. JD, along with his wife Usha, appeared on a news channel discussing, among other things, their interfaith marriage. But when a spouse is a believer in Jesus Christ and the other is not a believer, this is not an interfaith marriage. Let me explain. Welcome to Morning Tea. Hi, I'm Joanne, and I'm so glad you're here today. In the news clip, JD publicly professed...
Tell me about y'all's faith.
I had never been baptized. Even though I was raised Christian, I'd never been baptized. So I was baptized the first time in 2018, I think. It's funny, Usha was not raised Christian, is actually not Christian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I remember when I started to re-engage with my own faith.
So JD publicly professes that Jesus is the Christ who died for the sins of the world and he was resurrected in the body to heaven from where he rules over his kingdom. Usha is Hindu. This is in direct conflict with that doctrine, which is central to Christianity. So where a believer is married to an unbeliever, this is a Christian household. Usha and the children have been sanctified by God through JD's faith, and they're regarded as holy. The unbelieving wife has been sanctified through her believing husband. Usha is in full support of JD's belief in Jesus, and there's peace in the home. So all of the terms for continuing in this type of marriage have been biblically met. And this applies no matter what the religion. When you have one spouse who is a believer, this is a Christian home. Even though Usha is Hindu and she's accepting of JD's faith, it's not a Christian-Hindu mix. It's not interfaith, because with Jesus there is no mixing. Jesus has been clear. He's all or nothing. He's the way. He's the only way. So as a Christian husband and father, the responsibility is squarely on JD's shoulders to teach their children the precepts of the Lord and to lead them to saving faith in Christ. You have to remember that the purpose of educating children is to take the child from immaturity to maturity, to know what is true and good and beautiful, that is, the creation and the Creator, the God of Abraham, and through Abraham, the God of the entire world. And it's more than that. It's not just to know what is true, good, and beautiful, but is to love it. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and all your strength. These commandments I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up, and tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. This faith permeates everything. And as JD's faith continues to grow, he's going to be impressed more and more heavily of that responsibility that his children come to understand salvation through Christ alone, and in no way be confused with their mother's Hinduism, which is polytheistic and works-based. Usha has been wonderfully accepting of JD's faith. JD has said that the kids go to church with him every Sunday, so he's clearly doing this most important work. JD also spoke at the Faith and Freedom Conference, and he said something really interesting and credits his Hindu wife for bringing him back to his Christian faith.
What really brought me back to Christ was finding a wife and falling in love and thinking about what was required of me as a husband and as a father. And so it's funny, my wife, despite not being raised Christian herself, she made this observation to me when our son was about a year old and I started going to church, and she said, this is not really my thing. I don't have a background in this, but there's something about becoming Christian that is really good for you. There's something about thinking about the Christian faith. There's something about practicing the Christian faith that makes you more patient with our son and makes you a little bit more forgiving when I'm grumpy after a long day. And I realized that is sort of what she was describing, though she didn't have the vocabulary to describe it, is grace. And one of my really strong beliefs is that grace is not this thing that happens instantaneously. That was maybe something that I believed when I was 15 or 16, and I think grace, the way that I understand it, is something that happens over a lifetime. That in ways big and small, if you practice your faith, if you pray, if you think about what it requires of you, then God makes you a little bit better each and every single day. And that, to me, has been the greatest lesson and the greatest blessing of my faith.
He says becoming a husband and a father caused him to search for that deeper understanding. And it's so beautiful to me that Usha observed a change in him, the growing grace of God, as JD said. And she saw that he was more patient and loving. And so she encouraged him to keep pursuing this faith as it made him a better man to her. This is a smart woman. So add JD and Usha to your prayer list, particularly that Usha will come to saving faith in Christ for the ultimate unity in their family and their marriage. And if you're a believer married to an unbeliever, you can have a successful and thriving marriage. So watch this playlist here for some thoughts and tips to make your marriage the best it can be. Thanks for watching. I wish you many blessings and joy.
To a mustard seed.